Welcome to the K-State Pregame Show, brought to you by GoPowerCat.com and sponsored by Coldest.com and The Wooden Cork. Now let's head to the Cats and Dogs studio and your host, Tim Fitzgerald.
Welcome to the K-State Pregame Show. I'm GoPowerCat publisher Tim Fitzgerald, and today's show is going to get you ready for Kansas State's final regular season game of the 25 season. And what a frustrating season it's been for everyone involved. We thought this would be a really promising season, one that could lead to a Big 12 title, playoff berth, and all the stuff that goes with success. And it hasn't worked out that way. Everyone is disappointed with how this has gone. But there is one thing K-State can salvage out of this season. The one thing remaining is a bowl berth and an opportunity to go win another game. They've been fighting to get to this point since starting the season 1-3. And now Coach Chris Klieman's Wildcats come home after missing an incredible opportunity at Utah for that 6th win to conclude their regular season by playing the 3-8 Colorado Buffaloes, a team that appears to be dead in the water. But nothing that's happened this season has been predictable. For example, none of us would have predicted a 1-3 start. Maybe a loss in Ireland to Iowa State was predicted, but a lost Army? No, nobody saw that coming. And of course, that 1-3 start set a tone that has been difficult to overcome. This K-State team has either underachieved or was vastly overestimated. I think it's a little of both. But this game, coming home after playing a really strange and interesting game at Utah, you would think K-State would be fired up. And we're going to find out pretty quickly, won't we? Colorado seems to be done. They seem to be packing it up and ready to move into next season, whether Deion Sanders is the coach or not. Kansas State has been working hard to salvage whatever can be salvaged from a season that starts so miserably, and from a team that has shown wildly inconsistent levels of effort as the seasons went through the process. And last week at Utah was an amazing effort by the offense. It was incredible. I have never seen anything like it in my 30-plus years of covering college football. One of the best rush defenses in the country, number 2 in the Big 12, very stingy, gets run all over by one of the worst rush offenses in the Big 12. It was amazing to watch. As Joe Jackson said, a school record for rushing yardage in a game, breaking a Darren Sproles record at 293. The team set a record. They set the stadium record for Rice-Eccles Field in Salt Lake City. Everything seemed so good except the final score. K-State lost 51-47 when the defense let things down and gave up way too many points. This is an opportunity for K-State to get in the win column one more time. And I know that there's some things that won't help ease the pain of this season as an entirety, but any kind of success you can find in bad times, you grab it, you earn it, and you run with it. That's what K-State faces when they face Coach Deion Sanders and his Colorado Buffaloes at Bill Snyder Family Stadium on Saturday. It's an 11 a.m. kick. Get it started early, get it over early, and let us go on and enjoy the rest of the Saturday. It will be on FS1 if you're needing to watch it on TV. Colorado knew that this could be a tough season. After losing both of the Sanders sons, who were really good players at Colorado, they had plenty of questions to answer, and those questions weren't answered. This is a bad Colorado team with some talent, and they appear to have now packed it in for the season. But is that true? I guess we're going to find out pretty quickly in this game on Saturday at Bill Snyder Family Stadium, and we're going to try to get you ready for that contest. And we'll do it in our usual manner. Brian Hanley, Big B, comes in and joins us. He was an offensive lineman on the 97 and 98 K-State teams that were so historic. He's seen the best of times at K-State and has plenty of thoughts on what's going on now. He'll take a look at the Wildcats, and Cole Carmody will come in and kind of give us a breakdown of Colorado. But there's not that much to break down. Let's be really honest. This team has limped to the finish line after winning just 3 games. And I think everything Colorado does and does well, K-State should be able to handle. But again, nothing this season's gone as we thought. In the final segment, I'll kind of give you my thoughts on the day. We'll hear from Chris Klieman. We'll also have the Big 12 report on what's going on around the conference, and then I'll give you my one thing to watch. And I think I've already given it away, but you're going to have to wait to the end to find out. So let's get rolling now on the K-State pregame show and bring in our own Brian Hanley, host of the Big 12 Insiders. And now it is time for Big B, Brian Hanley, to discuss Kansas State versus Colorado to wrap up the regular season at Bill Snyder Family Stadium on Saturday morning at 11. This has been a strange journey, Brian Hanley, to get to this point. K-State is 5-6, 4-4 in the conference. Colorado, meanwhile, is 3-9 and 1-7. It would seem K-State has a lot more to play for.
Yeah, they absolutely do. First off, finishing 500, which again, it's not what you wanted, but it's better than 5-7. That's number one. Get to 500. Get to a bowl game. It seems like you may have found some footing on the offensive side of the football last week. Just some positive vibes. Not that you're satisfied with losing, and you shouldn't be. You should be crushed after losing a game like that. But you did play better offensively, which the week before, not sure you even showed up. So that's something positive, and you just got to continue that. And another thing is, and I think this kind of goes sometimes fits when seasons don't go the way that you want, just finishing the season off the right way. There's just something about that's kind of rewarding to say, you know what? Yeah, I know this is not what any of us wanted. It's not what fans wanted. It's not what alumni, players, it's not what anybody wanted that roots for the Kansas State program. However, we can finish the season off the right way against an old rival in Colorado. And I know that they went away and they came back, but I think that's a rivalry that Kansas State fans could get behind. And we're always behind previously. So go win the football game.
I agree. I mean, it was a really good game last year in Boulder. Well, I don't know that this game will be as good, but you never know. I mean, Colorado has one win in Big 12 play, but it was against Iowa State, a team that beat K-State. So, the carryover from that is it could happen.
Mm-hmm.
Do I think it will? No, I don't. But it's funny to me, though, Big B, how poorly the offense played at Oklahoma State and the defense was good. And they reversed roles at Utah. Offense really good, defense really bad. Can we get some balance? I mean, could this game work out where, well, I guess balance would be both being bad at the same time, which we saw earlier in the year. It wasn't pretty. And if they can finish off strong, again, you can call it a cliche or a motto. It's not how, that you go through adversity. It's how you respond to that adversity and
correct
how you bounce back. And pushing back with a 5-3 record over the final 2/3 of the season is a good response. Not incredible. I mean, no one really thought this team would lose 3 games, let alone the first three of the 4 and then 3 more. So, but you got to make the best of your circumstances, don't you? And this is an opportunity to get to a bowl, get extra practices, get locked in on 2026. You don't want to burn down the entire season if you can get some benefit out of the crap show it's been.
Right. It like you said, it's a cliche, but it's also the truth. And I take it a step further. Look, I know we're talking about sports, but adversity is something that you have to deal with your entire life. Like everything that you do is your job, your home life, everything is overcoming some sort of adversity, and it's how you handle it. And college is about teaching you and giving you life lessons to deal with. Well, here's a life lesson, man. It slaps you right in the face. But yeah, it's an opportunity to get better. That's number one. I know that goes unnoticed in this transfer portal and NIL era. Practicing for this game, you should be trying to get better. If you qualify for a bowl, again, opportunities to get better. And whatever it looks like from there, we'll just move forward. Look, there's also going to be some guys that we know that are going to be on the field that are not going to be playing for Kansas State next year. Yep. We know that. That's the reality. But it seems like it's a bought-in locker room where nobody's going to quit. We saw it 2 years ago where guys flat out just no. And they looked like it. They looked like they had no interest in playing in a football game. Now, there was a mountain of snow outside, but it wouldn't have mattered if it was 75 and sunny. They had no interest in playing in that game because they were checked out. I don't think this is a football team that's checked out, Fitz. We saw that last week because they had every reason to be checked out last week, and they didn't. So I don't think you're going to see that even from guys that are not going to be on the football team next year. I think they love one another in that locker room, and they're going to play hard to the last snap. And then if they leave the next day, then they leave the next day. Okay, fine. But I don't think we're going to see that, and I'm excited because of that, because you don't get that a lot in college athletics these days, Fitz.
No, you don't. You don't. They need to be bought in, and we're going to find out. We're going to find out where the players actually stand on this season.
Mm-hmm.
If they're bought in or not, we'll show up on Saturday. It always does. When it's the last game, you're either it's the last game. We got to make the most of it. Let's go play. Let's go win. Let's go perform well. Or thank God it's the last game. Let's get this over with. That just comes out. And we've seen it cut both ways. And it's no fun to be watching or covering a team that is like, okay, we're done. We just got another quarter of football to play. We're just done.
Right.
And that's painful. I don't expect this team to do it. They may not be great on Saturday, but I think they will be invested at a level that means they want to win this game. They want to perpetuate the season. I'll be shocked if they come out and play crappy. I just really will be.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect them to come out and play, but it may not look good. Maybe the execution isn't great, but I don't think the effort is going to be a problem, or it shouldn't be a problem. I would be very surprised and, quite frankly, very disappointed if the effort isn't there. Execution be damned, because that can be up or down, regardless. The execution is what it is, but the effort is what most Kansas State fans have been clamoring for. I know I have, that the effort just hasn't seemed to be there all year. I think we're going to get a good effort from these guys. I really do, Fitz. Yeah. I think they're going to try to get after it because I think they realize how good we can be if we put it all together. And if we're being just quite frankly, this is an opportunity because Colorado is just, first of all, they're beat up, but they're not a very good football team. No. I know we're beat up too, so I'm not saying that we're not. I'm just saying that Kansas State is better than Colorado. They are. And if they come out and play and do their thing, they will put it on Colorado.
So I asked Chris Klieman at Monday's press conference if the running game we saw against Utah translates. He basically said, no, it kind of, it does, but it was really effective against how they defend. But I think the translation may not be schematic. It might be in confidence. Mm-hmm. And also an understanding that the coaches might have, hey, this offensive line can run block if we let them do it in the way they need to do it.
Correct.
Quit asking them to do athletic things that they can't do. Don't enter Tim Fitzgerald in the high jump. Unless it's going to be a curb. He could clear that. You got to focus on what your guys do well.
Right.
And they haven't been. I think it's been a failure of coaching. And they tried to force the team to be a certain thing when it just wasn't that. And you can sit around and be bitter about that, but I like the idea that they're fixing it. They're trying to find it. But I know this, everyone, particularly Joe Jackson, is going to go into this Colorado game with a level of confidence. When I say everyone, I mean on the offensive side, with a level of confidence we haven't seen this year. How do you not come out of that game confident? Even if it was a schematic breach that they took advantage of in a significant way, you still got to feel better. And Joe Jackson got a taste of as good as it gets. And I bet you he doesn't want to go back.
Well, so here's the thing is that sometimes that's all you need, is to unlock some confidence on however you get it. It could be you stumbled into, oh, you know what? I was running like this and I actually made a move. Oh, that actually works. I need to incorporate that into my repertoire here. Or, like you mentioned, a schematic deficiency that Kansas State said, you know what? We can exploit this. Oh, yeah, I can run downhill. I run really hard. I'm really good at doing this, making a guy miss. Sometimes it is what it is. And I suspect that Joe Jackson is a different running back moving forward.
Yeah.
Not just in this football game, but moving forward. I think he's going to be different because, again, some of the things that you see or that you've seen, he just didn't do that earlier in the year. And then it's almost like the light came on. It's like, I can be successful at doing this way. I can do this out here on the football field. I'm excited. I'm excited for that. I'm also excited for the offensive line. You mentioned it, is that just put them in the best position to succeed. We know their deficiencies. We understand what they are. Let's not make them try to do something that they're not good at. Let's do all the things that they excel at, and let's see what happens. We saw it last week. We absolutely did. Let's see it again this week.
If you want to search for a little positive, Joe Jackson is essentially in the position that DJ Giddens was in 22.
Mm-hmm.
But all of a sudden, the leader, the guy everyone thought would be the starter is gone. And he's forced into action. We didn't see Giddens really build the confidence and success until Big 12 play started, for the most part, in 23, his junior season.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Jackson's got that done in his sophomore season.
Yeah.
I think it makes things much more tangible for next season. Well, still understanding they probably need to go find another running back. But I think the urgency, particularly if he plays well in this game, I think the urgency of go getting a headline guy goes down, doesn't it?
I think so. I mean, look, it's college football in today's day and age. You got to have two, just in football in general, you got to have two guys that can run the football. And Kansas State has had that the last several years.
Yep.
They probably had it this year. Maybe they didn't lean on it, but you had some uncertainty. We don't need to go down that road. But, yeah, I would think maybe to go out, the urgency to go and get a lead back might be one of those things where you say, okay, we can pump the brakes a little bit. We still need to go out and find somebody, and they would be foolish if they didn't. But at the same time, maybe we don't necessarily need the lead guy. Now, if it falls into your lap, it falls into your lap. The best man win. It is what it is. But you're right. If it goes out and has a good game, then I think Kansas State can say, you know what, we got a guy. And we need to go get another guy, but we've got a guy, and that helps, Fitz. It helps, when you understand what especially when rosters change so much from year to year. If you can have a guy at a position of need, and running back is obviously a position of need, then it's like, okay, then we don't have to put the full court press on to go find somebody. Maybe we can allocate resources at other places of positions of need.
Okay, so the defense, we can talk about receivers and all that, but we know it's bad. They're about out of bodies. They're going to use a lot of tight ends and interesting formations, which isn't a bad thing, though. I mean, it breaks what you've been doing this year. So maybe what they watched on film is less valuable. Defensively, that looked like the Alamo. I mean, they eventually got run over. Overrun by a guy named Bird Ficklin. If you're going to get your ass kicked, don't let it be by a guy named Bird Ficklin. That's the nerdiest name I've ever heard, but that dude can play. Devin Dampier can play.
Mm-hmm.
They've just got dudes that know how to get it done, which I think it's fair to say K-State doesn't have right now. They don't seem to know how to get it done. When they really needed to make a play, the officials helped. No, what I meant to say, when they really needed to make a play, they did. They got it done. The big run by Dampier at the end that set up the final touchdown. How does this team bounce back with confidence defensively after that? That was, ugh.
Well, sometimes in blowouts, or not necessarily because the game wasn't a blowout, but sometimes when a game where you just get destroyed defensively and you're on the defensive side of the football, sometimes you just like, nah, we're not even going to watch this. I think K-State needs to watch it. Yeah. I think they need to look at where the deficiencies were and how did they do this to us? Who wasn't where? Because I think it comes down to just maybe somebody wasn't in a gap. Well, when you're playing really good competition, it only takes one guy to not be where he's supposed to be, and you're out the gate. And that's how it works. So I think they need to look at it, and find out, okay, where was the run fit? Why weren't you there? What caused you not to be there? What did you see that said, no, I don't want to be here. I want to be somewhere else, and talk about it and live in it, not to embarrass people or anything like that, to understand and to learn. Like I said, sometimes you throw those things away. Not this one. They need to find out why there were so many running lanes. What were you thinking on this play? Your run fit is here. Why were you somewhere else? What did you see? And really try to understand it, because I think the K-State's defense is better than this. They're better than this. And they've shown that they were better than this. And so I think this is one where you got to just dig in and say, okay, guys, we got to be better. We got to be better. We're going to sit through this. It might be a 3-hour film session, but damn it, we're going to figure this out, because we are a better unit than this. So let's dig in here.
I hope they find something that they can correct. I think they're depleted. I don't think the defense has ever been great. I think they've played well at times, but I just don't think it's overly athletic. Losing Austin Romaine hurts in a couple levels. But does this Colorado offense really pose that big a threat right now?
I mean, they can throw it around a little bit, but I can tell you this right now. If Colorado gets 100 yards rushing against Kansas State, I will be the first person to say the Kansas State defense absolutely stinks, because this Colorado, first of all, their offensive line is terrible. They're absolutely terrible. And they can't run the football on anyone, not anyone. And it's not like they don't try, because they will. In previous years when you had Shedeur Sanders at quarterback and all those receivers and Travis Hunter, maybe they ran it 8 times a game because they just wouldn't even they didn't even try. They try to run it. They just can't. So I will be willing to say, you give up 100 yards rushing to this Colorado team, it's time to panic because they cannot run the football. I'm telling you right now, if you see that, the first thing you should say is, oh, man, Big B was right. This is awful, because they're not any good on the line. They are not. I know I get on our offensive line a lot. Just imagine me, if you've ever seen Colorado play, me having to cover their offensive line. And my head would explode. The Lord have mercy, they are not any good. They are terrible. So this is a game where if you want to start to shut down the run fits and fix your defense, this is an opportunity to fix your defense.
I assume you think K-State wins this game.
Yes. I think they win this game because I think they come out with some enthusiasm early, and Colorado will quit. This is what they do. And again, they're depleted. They're a proud team, but they've been ready to stop playing football for about 3 weeks now.
Yeah.
So at Kansas State, it's the last game of the year. Kansas State comes out and punches them right in the mouth early. This game will be over. But you got to do it. You got to do it. They won't lay down, but they will allow you. If it was a boxing match, they'll come out, but they're not going to put their hands up. They're just going to say, go ahead and punch me in the face. And if you can knock me out, great. I'll go ahead and lay down. But if you don't want to swing, then it's like, okay, well, I guess I'll fight you. And then it'll be a football game.
Kansas State, Colorado, 11 a.m. at the Bill on Saturday. I don't even remember what's on. Why did I start to say it's on? So it is on FS1, like the basketball game the other night. That is Brian Hanley, host of the Big 12 Insiders. Make sure you're checking out his work. I love the show, particularly the episodes I'm not on. I think they're better. That's it for Big B segment. We'll be back right after this break with Cole Carmody taking a look at the Colorado Buffaloes. This is the K-State pregame show.
Looking for the rarest bottles at the best price? Experience the best alcohol delivery service. At Wooden Court, we have your favorite bottles in stock and ready to be delivered to your door.
Visit woodencork.com and use the code LIFEOFFITS for your special discount.
Welcome back to the K-State pregame show as we prepare you for Kansas State versus Colorado on Saturday, 11 a.m. kick at Bill Snyder Family Stadium. And now to take a look at the Buffaloes is our own Cole Carmody. Hey, Cole Carmody, how you enjoying the overlap? Hey, you're off teaching this week.
I am. There's a lot going on. There's football. There's basketball. There's football recruiting. Signing day is right around the corner. There's Thanksgiving. But you know what there isn't? There's no kids. So I don't have to deal with kids. That's both my own and my students. So that's a positive.
Well, your own that you know of.
Correct.
Speaking of kids, they're all gone at Colorado, and now he's left with what they've got. Coach Deion Sanders, who I enjoy. I think he's great for college football in the Big 12. But right now, it's not great for Colorado fans. This team isn't very good. And we just had a discussion that is interesting. I think the one game the Big 12 world would love to see that's not on the schedule is Colorado and Oklahoma State. Because as a quick glance at Colorado's stats and where they sit in the Big 12, right now they might be worse than Oklahoma State. But of course, Kansas State barely beat Oklahoma State. So what do we know? Okay. Give me your first thoughts on the Colorado Buffaloes at what, 3-8 coming in here?
3-8. Yeah. I mean, you look at their schedule and they've actually played some teams tough. First game of the season, all the way back in August. They played Georgia Tech tough. They lost to them by 7 points at home. They were in the game against Houston at the beginning part of the season. They rolled Wyoming. They narrowly lost to BYU. And I think at that point, a lot of folks were saying, okay, you can squint your eyes. This Colorado team can be competitive. And then Fitz, when they go on the road, they're just a bad football team. They haven't scored 30 points in the Big 12 at all this season. And so that's the very first thing I want to say is if K-State gets to 30 points and they don't win this game, then something's gone horribly wrong. So that's number one. But you look at where they've been, and they were in the game against West Virginia, had a good chance to win. They ultimately lose by 7 points. They were in the game last week against Arizona State. It was a close game in the fourth quarter, and what do you know? They fumbled, and they ended up losing that game 42-17. I look at where this team is right now, on top of the fact that on Monday, Deion Sanders came out and said that Julian Lewis, the quarterback, who's been the quarterback for the last 3 games, is not going to play on Saturday. He is going to redshirt, and so they will be going back to Caden Salter, who, to put bluntly, has not been good this season. So they're going back to him. It just kind of feels like they put all of their chips in to the center of the table last week against Arizona State. It was their last home game. It was a primetime game. They said, we're going to try and go out with a win. And now that they haven't, they're kind of limping into Manhattan. And I don't know what the motivation factor is going to be like for them. But right now, they're really struggling.
Needless to say, Kansas State fans have not been overly pleased with this season. But let's just say if it appears that Colorado, considering everything you just said, it appears that Colorado is the more motivated team on Saturday, there will be some very, very unhappy people. K-State needs to come out and assert itself against a team that wants to lose. I mean, they don't care.
Yeah.
And just get it done. And most K-State teams would have done that, but I find myself concerned that this team's roller coaster ride will hit the downturn again and they'll go through the motions. What are your thoughts?
I think that running the football makes it very difficult to have those ups and downs because you can either run the football or you can't. And on Saturday against Utah, K-State was able to run the football. Well, as it relates to the Buffaloes, this, I think, matchup is horrible for them on that side of the ball. They have 5 times this season, they've allowed over 200 yards rushing. You think back to that same Utah team, Fitz, we know how good they were. That was the ugliest game of the season for Deion Sanders and the Colorado Buffaloes. They gave up 422 yards on the ground to Utah. It's actually pretty impressive because that happened in Rice-Eccles Stadium, and K-State ran for more in that stadium than Utah did in that game. But, yeah, I mean, they can't stop the run. Like, bluntly put, their front seven is really bad. And, we said the same thing about KU. We said the same thing about Oklahoma State. But when I watch this Colorado team, it's bad. And they have to find a way to run the football. Opponents average over 5 yards per carry. They only have 13 sacks on the season. So their defense is where they struggle, and you have to be able to run the ball. And you know what? I know Chris Klieman said that they were able to have those runs because of how Utah played defense, but they're going to run the exact same thing. You would be foolish not to run the same plays that worked against Utah. If they'll work against Utah, I have an inkling that there's a really good chance they'll work against Colorado.
Yeah, I understand what he was saying. Schematically, they addressed what Utah did perfectly, but the way they went about it will work because they were just aggressive. We hadn't seen that in the running game all year. What does Colorado's front look like? Are they going to stand up at all?
They can. I mean, they've been in games, right? And the reason why they're in games, go back to the TCU game. That was a 2-touchdown game. They were able to slow down the TCU running game, and I think mostly because TCU's running game just wasn't very good. We saw them in Manhattan; it was not a good run game. But they're formidable. They will stop you if you shoot yourself in the foot. They'll be able to stop you. And if you have to throw the ball, then this Colorado defense, they have the athletes in the secondary, which should come as no surprise. They have the athletes in the secondary to hang with you. And with how depleted K-State is at receiver, I would venture to say that Colorado's defensive backs are probably better than K-State's wide receivers. And so if they can find a way, to load the box and just punch K-State in the mouth and make it 3rd and 7 on, every possession, K-State's going to be in trouble. But again, it starts with 1st and 2nd down, and you don't have to have those 75-yard runs, like we saw Joe Jackson have. But if you can run the ball for 5 yards, for 6 yards, you will be able to wear them down because that's how they lost to Arizona State. And going back to that Arizona State game, Fitz, Raleek Brown, who wasn't necessarily coming into the season supposed to be Arizona State's number 1 running back, should sound kind of familiar. He ran for 255 yards last week. And so if I'm Joe Jackson, if I'm that Kansas State offensive line, I'm licking my lips. And if I'm Matt Wells, I'm not calling a pass play until I absolutely have to.
Interesting. I'm anxious, excited, I guess, to see what Kansas State does on the ground and if they can replicate it in any way. I'm not looking for 400 plus yards or 200 plus from Joe Jackson, but just an ability to move the ball. In a weird way, they were almost too good at the run last week. If they had been good enough to perpetuate drives and eat up clock, they win that game. But they had so many big plays that the defense just went right back on the field and kept giving Utah opportunities. So I think there was some downside, oddly, to being so good in the run. Let's look at K-State's defense, which was horrible last week. Something we don't talk about enough is how much the K-State defense gave up against Utah, which has not been their MO throughout the season. This is a far less threat. Salter doesn't scare anyone at quarterback. What will they be seeing from the Colorado offense?
Well, it's tough to say, right? Like we've seen Julian Lewis be the quarterback the last few games, and they've been okay. They haven't been necessarily very explosive. Lewis is not the runner. Salter is the second leading rusher on the team, and I think that mostly speaks to their inability to rush the football. Very similar to last season. This isn't a Colorado team that likes to run the ball. They are 15th in the league in rushing, and as we've said, they are the lowest scoring offense in the Big 12. And They love to throw the ball, and if there is one spot where they will get you, it is on those long, explosive pass plays. Omarion Miller and Chris Klieman talked about it at his press conference. Omarion Miller is one of the best wide receivers in the Big 12. He averages nearly 19 yards per reception. So this is a big play threat. Sincere Brown, the freshman wideout, was really good last game against Arizona State. They're going to have some guys there, but with Salter back there, I mean, you never know what you're going to get because we've seen Caden Salter be pretty good, and we've also seen him just be absolutely horrible. He's thrown 10 interceptions on the season, and he hasn't even started the whole year. So he's going to throw it to you. You just got to be able to catch it. And I think if there's one area where this K-State defense has been pretty good, it's through the air. I mean, last week, I thought they were pretty good against Devin Dampier. Like, Dampier's not the greatest thrower, but you look at what he was able to do on the ground, that's what hurt him. I think if K-State's able to limit Salter through the air and force Colorado to try and run the ball, they're going to be really good because they're kind of flipped from what I think we'll see from K-State. They want to throw the ball first. K-State wants to run the ball first. So you got to be able to defend the pass, and it's going to be a challenge because we know how good those receivers at Colorado are. But I'll go back to this. You're only as good as a receiver as how good your quarterback is.
Right. You're right. They do want to throw the ball. They're a pass-first offense. And yet they're 12th in the conference in passing. I think that underscores the frustrations, the issues that have gone on at Colorado this season. Let's switch subjects to, is this it for Deion? You think? I sense he's probably done due to health more than the losses, but this is a lot for him to try to keep trying to do.
Yeah, I kind of had that feeling. Even a few weeks ago, I wasn't sure if, he would even be coaching this team on Saturday. I thought that maybe, bless his heart, like you and I were talking before we started recording, we both think that Deion Sanders is really good for college football. We both think he's really good for the Big 12, but this is a guy, he's just had so many health issues. And, I don't think anybody would blame him if he walked away. And I made this comment. I was like, last season, I thought that Deion Sanders got a little bit over the top. I haven't always been the biggest Deion fan, but the way he handles himself during adversity is really remarkable. And he doesn't have the talent right now. Like, there's no doubt about it. If this team, as nearly a 3-touchdown underdog, walks into Manhattan and wins this game, this would be one of the biggest upsets in college football this season. Like that's just kind of where the Colorado program is right now. And we've seen K-State lose to Army. We've seen K-State barely beat Oklahoma State. So I'm not saying that it's not going to happen, but if this is it for Deion, maybe that's that motivation, right? Maybe that's that motivation for Colorado players that, hey, go out and win one final game for the coach. I kind of got that vibe against Arizona State that they were pushing so hard, and then the dam broke and the water caved in. And we're going to find out if they're going to be able to, get their head above water, or if they've officially drowned on their 2025 season. But you're right, I don't know. I would be very surprised. Put it that way, I'd be surprised if we see Deion Sanders coach next season.
Yeah, and I'm disappointed. Well, first of all, people love to watch Colorado games because of Deion. The ratings, last year were huge. They're down this year because they're so bad. But if you could ever get them going, I would think it could be a remarkable thing for this conference. But when they're chopping off toes and pulling out your bladder and things like that for different health issues, it's probably time to go enjoy life, man. Don't try to grind this out and work this hard because as we know, covering Kansas State, this is an incredibly stressful, taxing industry on coaches this year, in this era, I guess is a better way to say it. And I can see them stepping away. I hope they have a transition process. They don't just start over. I really do. I hope they build off of this idea, whether it's, a Warren Sapp or someone else. I think Colorado found its little groove here. Mm-hmm. And I'd say this, I think the only thing Deion's done wrong, correct me if you think I'm wrong, is remember last year at Colorado, how many stars were on the sideline just hanging out? Why aren't they paying $1 million to NIL a piece? If you want to be on the sideline during games, pony up, man. Pony up. I think they have an opportunity to build NIL money in a way that nobody else does, but maybe the circus is leaving town with Deion. I don't know. Colorado's an important part of the Big 12. need them to be good. This team isn't good. So I assume you think K-State will get their 6th win and move on to bowl time.
Yeah, I do. I think that, they're going to be able to run the football like we've talked about, and, establishing the run early is going to be key. But the thing about this Colorado team is even if K-State doesn't get off to the fastest start, we've seen them collapse. And I think if you jump on them early, they're going to quit. They're going to quit early. If you let them hang around, we've seen them keep games close. Now, we haven't seen them win any close games, but you never know. You never know. It's going to be a fun one, but I do think K-State gets it done.
Everything we think we know about college football, and then last week happened when Kansas State just ran wild against one of the best rushing defenses in the country, and certainly in the Big 12. It made no sense. Maybe Colorado will have something like that up their sleeve. I doubt it, but we'll find out. Kickoff's 11 a.m. Let me ask you one thing before we leave, because there wasn't really a place in the show to park this, but let's have a little bowl talk. At 6-6, K-State's choices will be pretty limited. There'll be other teams in that same situation around the conference. But right now, as we sit here, it looks like the main choices for Kansas State would be the Liberty Bowl or the Independence Bowl. Also, we've seen talk of the Armed Forces Bowl in Fort Worth and the Birmingham Bowl, which is in Birmingham. I know, it's a weird name. Independence Bowl's in Shreveport, of course. That would be Kansas State's second trip there, the first, of course, being 1982, my freshman year at Kansas State, when K-State went to its first bowl. Which bowl do you think K-State ends up in if they win?
I think the best bowl for the program would probably be the Liberty Bowl. Getting a chance to face off against an SEC team. I don't know who that would be. Maybe an LSU, again, kind of like with the depleted, the coaching situation. I don't know if that would be very good. I don't know if you get Missouri in that game. They have 2 losses. If they lose to Arkansas, maybe. I doubt it. But I think the best one for the program would probably be to have a chance to face off against an SEC team. Where do I think they end up? I probably think they end up in the Independence Bowl, which would be a Conference USA team. And, I think that as maybe as bad as that might sound on the surface to a lot of K-State fans, getting a chance to play a bowl game in which you're going to have to bring your A game because the other team wants to win, I think that there could be some value there and saying, hey, you know what, you better play hard, or else guess what, Western Kentucky or Kennesaw State, whoever they're going to play, they're going to beat you. And you don't want to have that stain on your resume when you look back at how you finished the season. So there could be a little bit of motivation there if that's the case. And honestly, for the history of the program, Fitz, I think it would be really cool to go back down there because that's where the first bowl game was, as you mentioned, and just getting a chance to kind of relive the history. They could do some pretty cool stuff with that if they chose to.
It's interesting talking to people. It does sound like K-State will pursue the Independence Bowl. I mean, if the Big 12 says you're going to the Liberty, they'd do it, but they've been there a number of times. The bowl is not what it used to be. The facility is not what it used to be. The town's not what it used to be. And I think the fans wouldn't go. Maybe they go back to Shreveport. There's a lot of riverboats and gambling and, deviant stuff for the K-State fans to enjoy. Armed Forces Bowl would be interesting in Fort Worth. It'd be at TCU's home field. Be a good trip for everyone. Know nothing about the Birmingham Bowl. I just know nothing. Birmingham's an okay town, very SEC. We'll find out, Cole. We'll find out where they end up, and wherever it is, we will be there. Maybe you and I don't know. Gilbert's got that basketball thing to cover, and he thinks, despite what we saw the other night, they're going to be pretty good. So maybe, plus, I think every trip one takes is better if you leave Ryan Gilbert at home. Everyone agrees on that. I'm telling you what everyone's saying. That's it for this segment of the K-State pregame show. On the other side, we'll take a look around the Big 12. I'll give you my one thing to watch. We'll hear from Chris Klieman, and then we will say goodbye for the regular season and get you ready to move on to Saturday's game, 11 a.m. at the Bill. And we'll be right back on this after this break on the K-State pregame show.
From the house to the car to your tailgate, Coldest.com offers elite insulated tumblers. Imagine yourself standing in the football stadium's parking lot, and you want to keep your drink cold or hot. Coldest gets the job done. They're leak-proof, come in numerous designs and sizes, holding up to 46 ounces. And here's the best part. With your Coldest mug, no one needs to know what you're really drinking. Coldest.com. Use the code LIFEOFFITZ for a 10% discount.
Now let's take a look at the schedule in the Big 12 for the final week of the regular season, with every Big 12 team in action this weekend, starting with 2 games on Friday. The weekend action kicks off at 11 a.m. Friday when Utah plays at Kansas. The Utes want to keep their playoff hopes alive, and KU seeks bowl eligibility when the 2 teams meet on ESPN. Then, on Friday night, we head to Tempe for the Big 12 Insiders Game of the week, featuring Arizona at Arizona State for rights to the Territorial Cup. Both teams are 8-3 overall, with Arizona at 5-3 in the Big 12 and the Sun Devils at 6-2. The game kicks at 8 p.m. on Fox. There are then 4 Saturday games at 11 a.m. 5th-ranked Texas Tech faces West Virginia on ESPN. Houston and Baylor collide in Waco on TNT. Iowa State goes to Oklahoma State on ESPNU. And Kansas State hosts Colorado on FS1. Then the weekend action comes to a conclusion with a pair of afternoon games. UCF heads to BYU for a noon kick on ESPN2. And the Big 12 regular season wraps up when Cincinnati plays at TCU at 2:30 p.m. on Fox. Texas Tech and BYU are both heavy favorites in their games, and if they both win, they will meet next Saturday in the Big 12 championship game in Arlington, Texas. That's it for your preview of this weekend's Big 12 football action. Now let's return to Fitz in the Cats and Dogs studio.
Welcome back to the K-State pregame show. That was your schedule around the Big 12. Full schedule today. Last regular season week of the season, and we're headed probably, if everything goes as planned around the conference, and it never does, a BYU-Texas Tech rematch in the Big 12 championship, which should be a really good game. Now let's hear from Coach Chris Klieman. No, I'm not going to play the postgame at Utah again. If you want to see that, it's on our Go Power Cat channel. But I am going to bring you some stuff from what he said on Monday at his press conference, where honestly I was a little bit surprised that he didn't address what happened in the postgame. He kind of brushed it aside. Personally, I would have sat down the table with a box of Kleenexes and just owned it. But we all have our own approaches, and I think he'll probably address this more at season's end. But this week, his task isn't looking back. It's looking forward to help his team get to bowl eligibility. I know a lot of you don't care about that, but he does. It's good for the program. It's good for the transition between seasons. Now let's hear some of Chris Klieman's thoughts on this season, the Colorado Buffaloes, and anything else I wanted to include. I don't know. I haven't edited it yet. We're going to put it in right here.
Like I said on Saturday, it was as good effort as I've been a part of in college football, with our guys laying it on the line and going against the top 10 team, top 12 team in the country, toe-to-toe, and did some really good things, but came up short. And I just had found out that Joe Jackson was the offensive player of the week in the Big 12, which very deserving, as well as our offensive line. I think was the offensive line of the week of the Big 12, really deserving. So congrats to those people. Now we've got to be able to pick up and move forward. And, we'll see the guys today. I think it's a good week for us. No school, have our guys around us, have our guys around the facility a lot. We won't be able to bang a whole lot with guys because of injuries and the fact that it was as physical a game as it was. So we've got to do a great job of making sure that we get our guys as fresh as we can and get really good game plans to go out for these seniors. That there's a lot of guys that I looked at it from 2019 in TP to a handful of guys in 2020 and 2021. These guys have won a lot of games and meant an awful lot to myself in this program. So we're going to go out and honor those guys and try to find a way to get a win and get bowl eligible.
Coach, what kind of going back to the end of the game, what brought on what happened in post game with you? And I mean, it was a really stressful game, a horrible loss from your standpoint in terms of how it played out. But
I care for the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to apologize. I care for our guys, and I'm going to always have their back.
When you went back and looked, this is kind of a silly question, but how exceptional was the way you executed in that run game?
It was next level. Something that hadn't been done to that group at Utah for a long, long time. And the fact that we stayed convicted to it, and even when we got down in the second half after getting a couple of quick scores, we went right back to some of the things and tried to dress them up a different way because you can't run the same play in the same presentation, and I thought Matt did a really good job. The benefit of Matt being in the press box really, really stood out to me because he was able to have some space and have a clear head to be able to say, here's another way to get to something without all the distractions of a sideline. And our kids just executed. And like I said, post-game, our kids believed in what we were going to do. And it's fun to watch a team that believes in itself, has some success, gains the confidence, and then that once you get confidence, that belief continues to grow.
That was Kansas State coach Chris Klieman at his final regular season pregame press conference. Of course, we'll have one after the game. Colorado, K-State, 11 a.m., Bill Snyder Family Stadium on FS1. The game is Saturday. Hope you're having a great holiday weekend. This dropped on Thanksgiving, so if your turkey wasn't enough, you get this one too. But I do have one more thing to share with you. It's my one thing to watch. And this one is kind of easy. I think we all know it at this point. Let's see what this team has early in the game. Every time they've come out and looked disinterested, it hasn't changed. That's been the tone for the game. But when they come out and assert themselves in the first quarter, first half of the first quarter, you see something happen. They get invested, they get interested, and they get motivated. If K-State comes out and mopes through the motions like they've done, honestly, last couple times in the final game of the season, it's going to, be a long day. And even though Colorado's bad, Oklahoma State was bad, and K-State struggled to get by the Cowboys. But they did, and that's what's different about this team now than the first of the year. That effort in Stillwater would not have won the game earlier in the season. They would have surrendered. And I think they've learned enough lessons, and now seeing what they did at Utah and how good they can be on offense, how will the team respond? Make sure you keep an eye on the energy level, the emotional investment, and how well they're executing early in the game, because it could tell the story where the game's headed and if K-State will win and get bowl eligible or make this day another adventure in K-State football. It's been a long K-State season, a long season for everyone who had high expectations, a frustrating season, one that hasn't gone as planned. But getting through the bad times is something that Chris Klieman is committed to doing at Kansas State. We all have to do it at times. When things don't go as planned, how do you react? Do you throw up your hands and complain and keep looking over your shoulder at what went wrong? No, you got to keep going forward and find the solutions. And that's what he's been efforting to do, the solutions as best they can be found. And it all comes to a conclusion when the 5-6 Wildcats take on the 3-8 Colorado Buffaloes at the Bill on Saturday. As I said, 11 a.m. kick. Hope you can be there. Hope you're watching on TV. If you can't, it's on FS1. And if they win, Kansas State will have a bowl invitation. It's not going to be some luxury resort location. It's going to be between these, most likely. Memphis, Shreveport, Fort Worth, and Birmingham. Those are probably the top 4 bowl destinations on K-State's pecking order. Such are the choices at 6-6. First step, though, is to get to 6-6 and beat the Colorado Buffaloes at the Bill. Game kicks at 11. I'll probably roll in 10:30, because that's how I treat home games at 11. Why hurry when you live a half mile away? But when I get there, I'm going to walk through the concourse and see a lot of great K-State fans who are showing up for their team during a season that hasn't gone as planned. And I hope I will see you at the Bill.
Thank you for watching the K-State pregame show. Make sure you're subscribing to this YouTube channel and please share your thoughts in the comments. Also, please support our sponsors, Coldest.com and WoodenCork.com, and remember the code LifeOfFits for your discount. This has been a Go Power Cat and Spirit Street production.